It's Rudy Giuliani with America's Mayor Live, and we're going to go right to President Biden.
Page two.
We'll be back as soon as he's
I
finished.
know it's a thick document. On page 215, the report of the special counsel found the exact opposite. Here's what he wrote. There is in fact a shortage of evidence that I willfully retained classified materials related to Afghanistan. On page 12, special counsel also wrote for another document. The decision to decline criminal charges was straightforward. The evidence suggests that Mr. Biden
He's
did
gonna
not
stick in.
willfully retain these documents. The evidence said I did not willfully retain these documents. In addition, I know there's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events.
Yeah.
There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died.
Ooh, yeah, all right, yeah, good. Play the son.
There he-
Play the son, you scoundrel bastard.
When I was asked the question, I thought
No, I don't
about
always,
wasn't any of their damn business.
somebody put a light on, I can't. I don't need to see that.
Somebody who got me, where since the
I don't
day
want to
he
be on,
died.
I don't want the camera.
Every single day, the grocery he got. Maybe
Stop showing him yesterday's show. Why are you doing
every
it?
Memorial Day, we hold.
Put that off.
Remembering him.
Turn the camera off.
It's not on you. He's telling
Light
you.
on. I need a.
You need anyone.
I'm sorry.
Remind me when he passed away or passed away.
Okay.
What truth is us?
We're gonna do his son as a way out. It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
The same time I was managing the international crisis,
What the hell does he
their
have?
task was to make a decision about whether to move forward with charges in this case. That's their decision to make. That's the council's decision to make. That's his job. And they decided not to move forward. For any extraneous commentary, they don't know what they're talking about. It has no place in this report. Bottom line is the matter is now closed. We can continue what I've always focused on. My job of being president of the United States of America. Well, thank you, and I'll take some questions.
Something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president, I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's
How
totally
bad is your memory? And can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak. That's what.
Worse.
My memory is not good. My memory is fine. My memory, take a look at what I've done since I become president. None of you thought I could pass any of the things I got passed. How'd that happen? You know, I guess I just forgot what was going.
He sounds off. He sounds like an old man at a nursing home.
So did you hear that this report? You're really concerned. Only by some of you.
Can we come back to you?
I take responsibility for not having seen exactly what my staff was doing. As it goes in and points out, things that appeared in my garage, things that came out of my home, things that were moved not by me, but my staff,
For months when we were asked about your age, she would respond with the words, "Watch me." While many American people have been watching and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment.
We get a fight
That
with.
is not the judgment of the press.
They expressed concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your
And
answer?
I'm
to
the
that
most
question?
qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started. I did not share classified information. I did not share. With my ghostwriter, I did not. Guarantee you did not. But what the council said, well, no, I did not say that. He did not say that. But Mr. President, let me answer your question. The fact of the matter is, what I didn't want repeated, I didn't want him to know, and I didn't read it to him, was I had written a long memorandum to President Obama why we should not be in.
We know that. We know that.
Of this, multiple pages. And so what I was referring to, I said classified, I should have said it should be private because it was a contact between the president and vice president. as to what was going on. That's what he's referring to. It was not classified information in that document. That was not classified.
When you look back at this incident, is there anything you would do differently now? And do you think that a special prosecutor should have been appointed in the first place in both of these cases?
First of all,
Can we come back to you or
I
no?
would have done.
Mayor, can we come back to you? Or
as for
No, not yet.
Material.
Go ahead.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
What we
He
reading.
should have done. If I go back, I didn't have.
You said yes?
to that.
Good.
My
Okay.
status.
Or we're gonna watch it. Listen to
Report.
bad, the video,
And my
the,
stance
it's white,
was
it's very
not
white.
Do it in a way that, for example, I didn't know how.
I'm gonna say, well, he's
Nothing. Work.
Until I really
Yeah.
gathered them up. Whether took to the garage in my home.
We're gonna keep it going, it's fine.
And all the stuff that was in my home was in filing cabinets. Locked away, and it was in my house. It wasn't out in, like in Mar-a-Lago in a public place where, and none of it was high classified, didn't have any of that.
Mar-a-Lago is not a public place. It's as private as it gets.
Pay more attention to how the documents were being moved and where. I thought they were being moved to the archives. I thought all of it would be easy. That's what I thought. Now, what was the last part of your question?
Special counsel should have been appointed in this case and in the case of your rival, former president.
I think a special counsel should have been appointed. And the reason I think a special counsel should have been appointed is because I did not want to be in a position that they looked at Trump and weren't going to look at me, just like they looked at the vice president. And the fact is they made a firm conclusion. I did not break the law.
No, they didn't say that. They said they can't prosecute you.
Now he's abandoning.
All right.
Awesome. Sir.
I'm of the view, as you know, that conduct of the response in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip, has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side. I've been pushing him really hard, really hard, to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza. There are a lot of innocent people who are starving, a lot of innocent people who are in trouble and dying. And it's got to stop, number one. Number two, I was also in a position that I'm the guy that made the case that we have to do much more to increase the amount of material, including fuel, including other items. I've been on the phone with the Qataris, I've been on the phone with the Egyptians, I've been on the phone with the Saudis to get as much aid as we possibly can.
Can you, I need you to be listening.
For innocent people, innocent women and children who are also badly in need of help. And so that's what we're pushing. And I'm pushing very hard now to deal with this hostage ceasefire. Because, as you know, I've been working tirelessly in this deal. How can I say this without revealing? To lead to a sustained pause in the fighting, in the actions taking place in the Gaza Strip. And because I think if we can get the delay for that, the initial delay, I think that we would be able to extend that so that we could increase the prospect that this fighting in Gaza changes. There's also negotiations. You may recall from the very beginning, right before Hamas attack, I was in contact with the Saudis and others to work out a deal where they would recognize Israel's right to exist.
I'd like to just go back to the mayor again.
In return for certain things that the United States would commit to do. And the commitment to that we were
Personally not
going to do related to two items. I'm not going to go in detail, but one of them was to deal with the protection against their arch enemy to the northwest, or northeast, I should say. The second one, by providing ammunition and material for them to defend themselves. And coincidentally, that's the time frame when this broke out. I have no proof what I'm about to say, but it's not unreasonable to suspect that the Hamas understood what was about to take place and wanted to break it up before it happened.
Ready? You ready? Ready? All right.
Good evening. That's an extraordinary, frightening
Turn it off. Turn it
speech,
From Robert Pearl.
completely unnerving and requiring a conclusion in which you resign as president of the United States. First of all, I've read part of the report, not the whole report on the summary. The report is a fix in terms of criminal liability. There's no possible way that you buy the distinctions between this and the Trump case. The fact that Trump might have disputed with them more, returning the documents, has no bearing on whether one more egregiously, whether one violated the statute or more egregiously violated the statute. And then those distinctions don't take account of the facts that are on Trump's side, which is that Trump, in the first instance, had every right to had every right to
Pin.
Had every right to take the documents with him. It's unfortunate. That isn't pointed out by the special prosecutor. Intellectual honesty would require that. Intellectual honesty would require that. Intellectual honesty would require that. In any event, the let me get this straight because they're driving me crazy. Here we go. Okay. Should be done before the show. So let's go back. Intellectual honesty would require that you prosecute him and you prosecute Trump, or you don't prosecute him and you don't prosecute Trump. The distinctions are silly between the two, and every argument could be made that Biden, we're talking now not about the fact that he's unfit for office, but we're talking about the underlying charges, that his charges are far more serious. The absolutely idiotic thing that he said, that Trump's documents were kept in a public place like Mar-a-Lago. His were kept in a garage, wide open all the time. And no one notes the fact that a man passed it who is a self-acknowledged business partner of the chief Chinese spy of China. The chief spy of China, acknowledged by that man, passed it every day for I don't know how long, possibly a year. There's no fact as aggravating in the Trump situation as that. There's no fact, they say, in this situation, that it was exposed to the possibility of foreign acquisition. There's obviously no fact in the Trump situation. Yes, there is a fact of being open to foreign acquisition, and that is that a multi-million-dollar business partner of the chief spy of China and several very highly placed red Chinese who exist for the purpose of gathering intelligence had those documents within his singular grasp hundreds, if not thousands of times. There's also a memo not examined in any kind of detail from that man to the Chinese that sounds an awful lot like a classified document. The special prosecutor, in the interest of dishonesty, avoided that. Now, the conclusion he did reach is devastating in another way. The conclusion that he reached is that he can't stand trial. He's not mentally capable of standing trial. Now, I don't know if he didn't want to use it or not, but the legal standard in the federal courts is very simple. You can't participate in your own defense. If he can't participate in his own defense, my fellow citizens, how can he be president of the United States? And why is it that not a single one of these reporters who jumped up and acted like a group of animals by instinct, right? Why is it that they never raised that? And more importantly, why is it that the prosecutor, who has an oath to uphold the laws of the United States, is supposed to, as a special prosecutor, look into all laws? Certainly did that in the Mueller case. The Mueller report is this big, and it examines whether Trump at any time got a ticket for spitting on the sidewalk. Why no examination of his mental condition? That would, but certainly there's enough here in a finding that requires that the cabinet move under the 25th Amendment of the Constitution. I would say that each one of them should be impeached if they don't. If you're a member of this cabinet, and let's take President Biden out of it, and let's take President Trump out of it. Let's say, oh, this is President, let's pick a neutral president, if there is one. Eisenhower. President Eisenhower. Suppose this was Eisenhower's, you were in Eisenhower's cabinet, and a prosecutor just listed a whole group of incriminating facts, which he concluded on arguments that can only be described as sophistry, that he's not guilty, and that the other guy is more guilty, on distinctions that don't seem to make much of a difference, when there are as many distinctions that make him more guilty, for example, as a senator, he had to have stolen the documents. Right there, he's in possession of not just classified, but stolen documents. That he did use it a substantial number of times, but maybe is he out of it then? Is he not out of it then? But in any event, the prosecutor, after an enormous amount of research and investigation, comes to the conclusion that he's unfit for office. Don't you, as a cabinet member and as a citizen of the United States, and being the person who's charged with this responsibility, have to begin a proceeding under the 25th Amendment that examines his fitness for office? Now, this doesn't matter if this is Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't matter if it's if it's the 2 years before an election or the day before. We should not have a person in that office one day who's unfit to stand trial. Or doesn't that equal unfit to be president? If you can't participate in your own defense, how can you participate in the defense of 300 million plus people? Isn't one much worse than the other? One is a personal thing. He can't defend himself. The other is he can't defend the United States. Now, do we really need this report to tell us that? Don't we all know that? How many nights do I show you, or somebody else on television shows you, a video of him looking like the sickest, most foregone patient in a extensive level nursing home? How often do you listen to him and remember a person, a friend, a relative of yours who has had dementia or Alzheimer's and say, oh my goodness, he's worse? I do all the time because I had a good friend in that condition and he's much worse. Biden is much worse. So I don't know where this lying document gets you, because with regard to the evaluation of the evidence, it's pathetic. It's a pathetic document. It's a pathetic sellout by a prosecutor of conclusions that have been made just the opposite with regard to President Trump, and have been. And you could not set up two better examples, this and the prosecution of Trump, to show that we live in a fascist state. We continue the Trump prosecution in light of this. We will have announced to the intelligent world, to the world capable of reading and making independent judgments, that the United States has become no better in terms of criminal justice than a fascist state, and that it has no regard for its safety and security, because it's willing to retain a man as president who was found by a prosecutor who was willing to do everything he can to fix the case factually for the president, to not be able to come to the conclusion that he's fit for office. Or, let's put it another way, who found that he's unfit for office. Because if you're unfit to stand trial, I say once again, You're unfit for office. It does not take a Supreme Court justice. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out. It only takes a crooked Democrat to avoid the conclusion. And we've had enough of crooked Democrats in destroying our country. If you also need evidence of the damage done by a president who is unfit to be in office, that this is not a meaningless thing, then just go think about all the families of the Ukrainians who died only because he was in office, because Putin surely would not have attacked had he not had someone like Biden there. We know he wouldn't have attacked when Trump was there because he didn't attack when Trump was there. He did when Barack Obama was there. He did when George Bush was there. And he did when he came to the solid conclusion for a different reason, as the prosecutor did, that he had a president who just how bad is it? We don't know. But it's sure bad enough to count on the fact that he won't make a tough, responsible, sensible decision for his people. It should have happened when he gave away Bagram Air Base, because in reality, traitor or not, no person in his right mind would give away an air base 400 miles from China. That should have sparked an investigation before he gave away everything else. And that happened early in his administration. I was one of the few people to really focus on it, and I'm one of the few people to repeat it. But I will repeat it until they remove him, which is, how does the president of the United States in this era give up an airbase 400 miles from your biggest opponent when the major risk you have is hypersonic missiles? The amount of time you have to detect a missile, no matter what kind of missile, even if you get the benefit of happenstance, the longer time you have, the safer your country is. The shorter time you have, the more at risk your country is. So he reduced America's safety by levels of degree that are impossible to measure. 400 miles is about optimum from an enemy, unless you want to be running the border. And maybe you're better off 400 miles. You have a little more liberty of movement. Now we have given that up forever. Every American president has to live with that not being there. And I do believe that a patriotic American president, and let's hope that circumstances don't arise, but there will be a day when a patriotic American curses his memory for doing that and putting his people in jeopardy that didn't have to be done. Now, did he do that because he's, as the prosecutor said, unfit to serve, unfit to go to trial, unfit to serve? Or did he do it because he's a traitor and was paid by China? I don't know. I don't think I have to be forced to conclude for the benefit of my people. I think if we cared about the United States, we'd stop all of this. We'd stop all of this protection of him. And for the life of me, having gone through 5 years with this 30-year terrible criminal, a horrible human being who has sold out his country over and over again, sold it out to our worst enemies, lied consistently, driven his afflicted child into a much worse degree of drug addiction that would have been necessary if he hadn't had him doing business with some of the worst criminals in the world for his benefit, and refuses to acknowledge a granddaughter who has to live all her life with knowing that her president grandfather doesn't acknowledge her, except he did it once publicly for the press. And a man who acts in a way that makes your skin crawl when he starts touching little girls. Why are we going so far to keep this decrepit human specimen in charge of the greatest nation on earth? We don't have to go through the process of impeachment. I don't even recommend the process of impeachment. It's too late. I believe that another impeachment, even if warranted, is going to start the impeachment train in this country. I had mixed feelings about the Mayorkas impeachment for that reason. it would seem to me that we don't have much hope as a country if we can't come together around the fact that this buffoon, however you want to describe him, the most crooked president we ever had, the most unable to serve president we ever had, or the most provably unable to serve president we ever had. We divide ourselves irreparably if we can't come together for the good of the country. There is, if I don't, I know I won't be able to persuade those of you who don't agree with me, but I know this in my heart. If this were a Republican president, if this were Donald Trump, who I am a close friend of and love, for his sake as well as my country's, I would raise this issue. I will not sacrifice my country for anyone or to anyone. I don't have the right to do that. Being a Republican or a Democrat, being a good friend or not, doesn't give me the right to do that. Until we reacquire that among a very large majority of our citizens, we will not be the great nation that we were. You could make all the arguments you want about Trump, but unless you want to force it and you watch him during his 1 hour, hour and a half extravaganzas, the man is way beyond the mental capacity of at least half the people in the Senate who are younger than him. And I know that. We've got a lot of dumb people in Washington. I mean, Trump is an extraordinarily intelligent man, always has been, and functions at the top of his game and demonstrates it with long performances. I don't remember John Kennedy doing that. I'm sure he was capable of it. I'm not suggesting that he wasn't, but I don't remember a president exerting himself and doing that without a hitch, almost now twice or three times a week. Pretty soon he's going to do it every day. So I'm not suggesting that age. I'm not suggesting that age is the reason at all. In fact, and maybe I am because I'm 79, but I'm so offended by what Nikki Haley does when she equates it all around age. I don't think Biden's age has a damn thing to do with it. I was with Henry Kissinger when he was 90 before he died, and he was as aware as I am, as you are, and more aware than 90% of the Senate.
Yeah, we learned that this week.
physically unable probably to be president, and at the end, mentally more than capable of being anything. Now, I don't know the very end, but this was a year or two before he died. So that's not the it's real simple. Let's not get away from it. The prosecutor here gets him off the hook. I don't remember in The Godfather, when one of the two capo regime says to the lawyer, can you get me off the hook for old time's sake? And the lawyer says, sorry, Sal. This isn't personal. It's business. In some ways, that's the point here. This is business. This is the business of the people. It's way beyond your opinions, my opinions, other people's opinions. Isn't this enough?
Yep.
Haven't we gotten to the point where this man has to be removed from office? How can you use as one of the reasons for not prosecuting for a crime that you have doubts or that he is unfit to serve office and let him serve in the unfit to stand trial and let him serve in an office in which the lives of virtually every single American is at stake? And he's a man where we could make a proven record that his irresponsibility has lost thousands and thousands of lives. I began with the selling of, or the giving away of Bagram Air Base, which could only be the act of a traitor or a man who is unfit to serve. If we want to free him of the assumption that he's a traitor, let's use the second, and we have support here from the prosecutor that he's unfit to serve. Number two, when he made the decision to remove the civilians rather than the soldiers first in Afghanistan, surrounded by terrorists. That decision was not just irrational. That decision was the decision of an incompetent man. No competent human being would make that decision. To any kind of vaguely healthy mind, it suggests itself that those people will be killed, and they were, because of him. We can go right down to, would Israel be under the gun that it's under right now if it weren't for him? Would Hamas? I would say that Iran would have been incapable of supporting the effort, because Iran would be lucky to be not having large numbers of people starving as they were when Trump was in office. And if Trump had been succeeded by a president of reasonable responsibility, that might not have happened. There is so much damage done to us. The ethanol, people who die of ethanol have every right to ask, would this happen if we have a president who was of sound mind? What president keeps a border open when ethanol is coming over in record numbers, and then gives a speech like the one he gave last night, saying that they have to give him the power to close the border when he already has it? He already has it. I would submit that his statement the other night when he says, "Give me the border patrol," indicates that he's insane. How does he not know he has the border patrol? They complain that he has them. They hate him. They write things like he's the worst president. They know that he has them. He doesn't. Yeah. I mean, that is about as clear a statement of his incompetence as you can get. So what I'm saying is, you can take what I consider dishonest prosecutor wrote here, and you can say it's not just a couple of sentences that he's unfit to go to trial. It's a whole series of acts that have led to the tragic loss of life, both American and foreign, and they're going to continue. If you have a conscience, at this point, you can't walk away from the fact that he needs to be removed. I'm going to take a short break, let you concentrate on that a bit, and make the call that we're asking you. Thank you. Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
I'll work on it.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with you. And we're going to remind you of after that, you surely have to take Mountain Nature. I do. I'm sorry. I already took some while you were not watching, but here.
Show them the bottles. Look at those bottles.
Here we are. Here they are. Okay. Balance of Nature, fruit, vegetable, gives you all the things you need from vegetables and fruits,
Just
plus good. It was fun. It did good.
oh,
Touchdown.
yeah, we gotta plug Eric Bowling at some point too.
So
Rudy, be sure to use that promo code Rudy. Balance of Nature Unfit.com, promo code Rudy. You're doing yourself a favor, a loved one, but also you're supporting everything the mayor is doing here on America's Mayor
Mayor
Live,
Live.
the fastest hour on the internet.
So we are, today have had, I mean, there's so much news. It's really hard to figure out where to put it. We just talked about the president's statement. We can go into more detail later, and we'll do it with we'll do it either later tonight or early tomorrow morning with a very formal report, one that you can follow and keep, that we'll put on America's Mayor Confidential. I will go through the Supreme Court argument, which I listened to, and I will be willing to be judged by my prediction of how they decide. Not just how they decide. I know how they're going to decide. They're going to say that that Colorado acted unconstitutionally, and they're going to say that Trump or anyone else cannot be removed from the ballot based on a singular decision of one state where you're not given due process of any kind, based on suppositions that you were engaged in an insurrection that has never been charged to that person or to anyone else, has never been proved about that person or anyone else. And you didn't endeavor to prove, you just took a highly biased report and used it. So as the justices got very close to saying, and did say without getting nasty about it, if they were to approve this decision, we would have multiple removals of Trump and Biden from the ballot, because this decision would justify a Republican state removing Joseph Biden on their reading of the present findings of Congressman Coomer, or my findings in my report, or the findings of Peter Navarro, or the findings of any number of people, the findings in Georgia by the Republican senators that the election in Georgia was stolen by Joe Biden. None of them were proven to the satisfaction of a court of law. We weren't given the opportunity, or I would have, but none of them were proven. But neither was the completely biased, one-sided J6 report. That hasn't been proven to anyone. Yeah, there have been convictions, but not for insurrection. You can't say, well, because there've been a conviction for something else, you can convict somebody of this. I mean, now we're getting, aren't we becoming the very communist or Nazi dictatorship that we say we're not? That's, of course, absurd. It's childish and absurd. Maybe it would work for a president unfit for office, but it wouldn't work for any person of sound mind, which I hope most of you are. So I would say that the case is going to go out. The grounds that hard to say if the grounds they spent the most time on is what they're going to use, or sometimes it works out it's the one they least are going to use because it's the one they had the most trouble with. The others they had already concluded on, or they asked a lot of questions about it. One of the problems you have as a litigator is you always think that things they ask questions about are the things that could be the basis of the decision, and usually they are. But every once in a while, some things are so self-evident they don't bother to ask you. Although they did seem to raise everything that I can think of, which is, and there are so many that you can reverse this decision on a very narrow ground, meaning it wouldn't apply to very much else. Or you could reverse it on a very comprehensive decision about the Constitution that would apply to many things. There are a lot of choices here. My guess is, knowing John Roberts, that in an effort to make it a 9-0 decision, he'll go for the broadest possible ground. For example, if he has a chance to get Justice Jackson, which sounded possible, although she was on both sides. I'm sorry, Sotomayor. Jackson, I think, is gone. I think she's concluded pretty clearly that this statute, this constitutional amendment, does not allow a state to remove a president under the conditions here. Probably be the narrowest decision, but it's almost certain that the skepticism that she had in her questions suggests that, and they were not answered. And she seemed visibly annoyed that they weren't answered. Sotomayor indicated some agreement with some of the arguments of the Colorado solicitor, the only one actually to do it, the only one, including the other liberal justice. But she also had some very, very very great difficulties with it. So I'm going to look carefully overnight again at her difficulties, because if you're going for a 9-0 decision, you have to get her. Roberts, Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, to some extent, Alito and Thomas were the most active. Gorsuch and Roberts probably the most active. Not hostile. Not. It wasn't a hostile argument. It was an intense argument. There was some degree of annoyance in the voices of the justices with some of the answers that were. Well, I'd say, you know how politicians constantly evade the answer to questions? You can't do that in the Supreme Court. These are extraordinarily bright people on either side. And they actually are asking the question, not like the press, so they can get their stupid faces on television, but they're asking the question, they want an answer to it. And when you don't give them an answer, they insist that you give it to them. And when you don't, they're going to hold it against you. So you could see, I've forgotten if it was Roberts or Gorsuch, but one of them got really pissed off because the lawyer was doing it a lot. Now, I don't know if he's just not a good lawyer or he just, I mean, honestly, and another reason is he didn't have a good answer. And I would try that tactic once if I didn't have a good answer, but then I'd abandon it in favor of just doing the best I could, or even conceding in places where I had to and saying it isn't enough or something. But you can't keep not answering the justice's question without risking his annoyance. Now, I don't know how much that counts in the Supreme Court. That sure counts in a lower court where judges are more emotional in the decisions in their cases. And in a close case, you start annoying them, they're going to turn against you. But I mean, a judge theoretically is not supposed to do that. You can annoy the hell out of him and he shouldn't turn against your client. Now, they are human. And I sure didn't mind when they were human. I do mind now when a certain number of them are corrupt, because some of them issued decisions that are corrupt. The decision of the Colorado court, the 4 judges, all Democrats, against the 3 who disagree with them who are Democrats, is a corrupt decision. One justice, if not more than one, pointed out the most obvious of all: the president's title is not in the Constitution, is not in the constitutional amendment. If you read the 14th Amendment, it doesn't say that this is a liability for the president. It starts with the office of senator and then goes down to representative and then lower offices. And it's when it says any other office, the justices were quite correctly concluded that Congress did not include the president without mentioning the president. They're not going to add a new qualification for office that's been there from the day that the Constitution was first approved without mentioning his name. They didn't cover him by accident. In fact, I do believe if my friend Nino was still there, I think he would have asked that. Are you telling us that the president is covered by accident? They just kind of forgot to put the president in. And you want us to remove a president on an amendment that doesn't have the word president in it. And our answer is going to be, gee, give them a break. They forgot. That's the stupid argument that Colorado is using, because the Democrats have gone so far. This is just one piece of an entire piece that infects every one of these cases that all should be done away with. They have nothing to do with the law. They have nothing to do with culpability or guilt. They all have to do with loading him up with so many trials this year. He can't run for president because they want to reverse what appears to be the will of the American people. Now, we're talking about being anti-democratic. That's about the worst that's ever been in this country.
Absolutely.
This is the worst. I don't know if you call it an insurrection or you call it a deliberate action against democratic government or to change Democrat, but it is. This is what Maduro is doing in Venezuela. I don't know if he and Biden conspired, but the minute that Biden got him to agree that he was going to hold I can't imagine that they didn't just both laugh when Biden said free and fair election. He held a Biden free and fair election. He put his opponent in jail. Biden put out a couple of sanctions, but continued to give him the billions. I mean, Biden's going to get upset if you cheat on an election. Unless he's so unfit and his mind is so out of it, he's the only guy in America that doesn't know he cheated. I don't think that's true, because one thing about him is, and this is true of senility as well, when you are as thoroughly criminal as Biden is, even when you become mainly incompetent, you're still a crook and a liar and a thief. And I mean, he lies all the time now, right? He's constantly lying. There isn't a day that goes by that he doesn't get up there and lie. So let's take a short break, and we'll cover some of the other things that need to be covered. As I said, with regard to the Supreme Court decision, we will do let's call it an oral essay that you can have available tomorrow, and I'll go over with you the 5 grounds on which it could be decided, which ones will be the likely grounds. And then we'll play a little game. Let's see how good I am at naming the justices. I know I'll be better at that in the Super Bowl, because I know more about the law than I do about football. And also, the law is more predictable, or it used to be when we were a country of laws and a democracy. Under the fascist Biden regime, it's also predictable. It's predictable in the fact that it will be unfair, dictatorial, and it will apply one side in one way, the other side another way. And when you find out the judge, you know the decision, which is tragic, and it has to change. Probably it's the single most important thing that has to change, because all the rest will flow from it. We'll be right back.
Device is something that you can plug into your television, and now you can use your television as a social television type experience. So in the Portal universe, you can watch your favorite content creators' videos, live streams, music. We also have TV subscriptions as well.
TV subscriptions.
You can also
regular channels, all the sports.
Right, you can actually cut your cable from your cable subscription and get QUX TV on our QX TV boxes, and you can pay half the price that you're currently paying for your cable television subscription, and you can get all the best premium TV channels and more. I mean, it's really, there's so much on there, Rudy. I mean, you've seen it.
No, I've seen it, and I use it, and it's good. I mean, it's great. It's just exactly the same, except for half the price. Plus, nobody is finding out what I'm watching, and that's not being reported to anybody.
Right, so you have absolute privacy using this device, which you don't have on other devices out there currently on the market.
This is absolutely great. QUX.TV is how you can find out about it. QUX.TV.
Use promo code RUDY to receive $30 off.
I'm just still looking at the opinion of the special prosecutor. Mr. Biden shared information, including some classified information, from these notebooks with his ghostwriter. Isn't that what they're accusing Trump of? How can you accuse Trump and not him? All right, then he better be unable to stand trial. That better be real. And if it is real, how can he be president? Now, does that exercise in logic get the Biden people so angry at me that they want to destroy my career, continue to have me not practicing law, keep me bankrupt, and then let me just not mention, put Mr. Navarro in jail for 4 months. Obviously, it was enough to put him in leg irons. Aren't we on the right side of that? Mr. Biden shared information, including some classified information from those notebooks with his ghostwriter. If Mr. Biden were a lowly member of the military, he'd go to jail for that without doubt. And we have numerous cases of people that have gone to jail for that. A former president is being prosecuted for that, right? And he's not going to be. He can't not going to be because it doesn't violate the law. Because then we're saying the law is different for him than it is for the member of the service or for another president. He's not being prosecuted, as the guy tells you, because he's gaga. You don't know where the F he is. Or he can't participate in his own defense, which is, believe me, I don't think I ever had a case in which a person succeeded in convincing a judge they were unfit. No, I don't think so. I've had a couple of hearings where they've attempted to do it. Very hard. You got to be really, whoop. It's simple and it's complex. Because a lot of people will lie about it in order to get out of going to trial, of course, right? I mean, there's an awful lot of fraud in proposing the infirmity of being unable to stand trial. You have to be, now let's listen to the words. You have to be unable to assist your attorney in your own defense, which means you're not able to remember things. You're not able to remember things. You're not able to put together logical explanations he's going to understand of what you did. It means you have to be, I mean, I think we would, in common language, call it insane. Or here's a better way to look at it. And again, let's at our peril use logic. At our peril, because in this dictatorship, you go to jail for using logic. If you can't help a lawyer in your own defense, how can you defend your country? When, as a president, you're defending your country, not like Achilles defended Greece, but you're doing it as an intellect. Your intellect is defending this country. Well, you don't have one. You don't have an intellect that functions. Now, if this were a big surprise to us, like the prosecutor wrote this, and this were Trump, or this were Carter, or this were Clinton, or even Obama, we would say, well, we've seen him say some jerky things, but we haven't seen anything like that. What are you talking about? Unless you are hiding under a Democratic cloud of brainwashing, you have to have seen the multiple times in which he says things that only you can call him demented, I'd say insane person would say, like that they talk to a dead man. He's doing a lot of that dead man stuff now, which says to me that he's delusional. It could very possibly be delusional. But there's nothing, not a single thing here, not a single thing that surprises you. If you're surprised that this guy reached a conclusion that he's incapable of standing trial, you got to have been living somewhere else for the last couple of years, and not listen to him go to Cambodia and think he was in Colombia, or not listen to him think he gave his uncle the Purple Heart in the White House after he was vice president, with his father present congratulating him when his uncle and father were dead for 5 years before he was in the White House. Or you were missing something yesterday when I played him very, very angrily saying, well, you should give me control of the Border Patrol. The law should give me control of the Border Patrol. Now, what is he there? I mean, I can't even imagine he would lie about that. I mean, why would a guy lie about not having? I mean, it would be like the president saying, "I don't have control of the army." Well, now you have to conclude a president saying, "I don't have control of the army." You got to let's again logic. Oh boy, this is great night for logic. He is stupid. He's stupid. He's not just stupid. To say you don't have control of the army if you're the president means you're insane. He's insane, or he's actually an insane liar. Since you can go right to the Constitution, it's as if he can hide. He does tell lies. I noticed that investigating him. He tells lies that are insane. From the very beginning, the lie, I never talked to my son or my family about their foreign dealings, was a lie. There wasn't a person in America. There wasn't a person in America. There wasn't a person in America that didn't know that that was untrue. Unless you were a sycophant. So, what do you think, gentlemen?
Is it a Freudian slip that when he says that he doesn't have control, meaning is somebody else is in control, not him?
Well, if it's a Freudian slip, which do happen to very healthy people, it happens so often, he better go see Sigmund Freud because he does it all the time. And I don't know what the condition is when instead of talking, you have Freudian slips all the time. But I'm sure it means you're crazy. And I also sure it means you fit the language of not being able to be fit for service or fit. I don't know what the difference is between fit to go to trial and fit to preside or have the most complicated job in the United States, in which the lives literally of 320 million people depend on you. I mean, one is more important than the other. Just his measly little trial is nothing compared to the safety of this great republic.
Bingo. And
And
because
how can anybody in good conscience keep him on when the guy concludes he's a nutso?
wow. And you're right, Mayor. And that's
Who are the traitors that keep him on knowing he's nuts?
there's a group of people that are that obviously benefit from this man staying in the Oval Office. And those people have enough influence as of today to still keep the rest of the party in line.
Doesn't this prove everything?
Yes, of
Doesn't this
course.
prove everything we've been saying about deep
Yeah.
state, about how evil they are,
Yes.
about how unfair they've been to Trump or to me or to the followers of Trump? That all of that is true because these are people capable. If you can avoid this and tomorrow morning wake up comfortable that he's president, then you're capable of doing anything. You're capable of stealing an election. You're capable of covering up a hard drive. You're capable of paying $1 million for a phony report against Trump. Yeah. You're capable of bringing a phony case against me and trying to bankrupt me.
They're all
You're capable of calling me a Russian pawn like Biden did when you know I'm not. I'm afraid of my lawsuit. He's going to use the defense that he's insane.
Isn't that amazing? It's amazing what
He's-
the
he's-
prosecutor
he's
just.
insane for saying I was a Russian when the FBI had concluded 8 months earlier that the hard drive was legitimate. I don't know. I've never encountered the insanity defense working in a civil trial.
That's absolutely
I
right.
have to do some research tonight. A lot of research. Wow, I'm gonna be a lawyer again.
Yeah.
I mean, unofficially, don't say that because the Bar Association will come after me. You do know that I am suspended from the practice of law now for several years and can't make a living at it because the New York Bar Association, without a hearing, concluded I was a danger, that if I continued as a lawyer, it could provoke violence. But I've continued as a radio and television talk show person. I've said all my opinions far more elaborately than I would in court. And so far, I haven't caused any violence. And the one case where they may have had doubts about that, a judge, they don't bother to pay attention to this, a judge has concluded that my words and actions had nothing to do with the violence of January 6th, definitively concluded that. And the judge, I should, just to add credibility to it, it was appointed by none other than Barack Obama. You would think they would remove the suspension. They're just waiting to come up with a phony, dishonest opinion. I can tell you that from the hearing because it was conducted that way, including when it comes out, we will reveal the documents that they altered or tapes.
We have, yeah, that's the thing. And
I mean, we have proof.
we have it all.
that-
You have it.
This is a situation where the people prosecuting us, there's a lot more proof that they should go to jail than we should. The one responsible for the alteration of the tape that was done secretly is Fulton County, Georgia, although it was proposed by the Bar Association. But the one who did it probably is Fulton County, Georgia.
and they're a big mess.
And forget that. If you don't believe that, I mean, it's quite obvious that she's a stinking lousy, crooked prosecutor. I mean, just the admission she made would indicate that. I mean, she can go tell that to somebody else. You got to be stupid. She takes her lover and makes him the head of something he knows nothing about, pays him, it will be $1 million where he's not needed for it. And nobody wants to deal with the fact that she did an unnecessary grand jury hearing to
Almost $1 million.
to ring up more cash for him.
Hundreds of
The
thousands.
first grand jury was unnecessary. That's the one she appointed him for.
Over
She
700K.
didn't need use her staff, his staff. That grand jury couldn't indict it, just made a report. Well, you can skip the report and you can go right to the grand jury that makes the indictment. And you save, if this is going to cost $1 million, you save 500,000. Or you don't give them 500,000, but then maybe you don't have the money to go on what it looks like anywhere from 4 to 8 vacations. I mean,
Let's not even get into it.
they were on vacation more than Biden.
That case is going to get thrown out.
And it's
I'm not sure it's going to get thrown out. I mean, they're going to try to make some distinction. You can go forward. Well,
it's going to be tough for them, but you're right. They'll find.
I think eventually that case can be thrown out on the law. I think the high court of Georgia will not tolerate it. I think
I would like to think not.
we're in an inherently dishonest jurisdiction. I think the judge is about as straight as you're going to get in that jurisdiction. But you're in one of the most crooked places in America there. Now, they selected the most dishonest, biased courts you can find.
They did. Think about it.
DC Circuit.
DC Circuit.
Well, the DC bar, the DC District Court.
Yeah, we literally got the one judge that's like
J6
known.
can't get anything roughly equivalent to a fair trial in Nazi Germany there.
Oh, it's worse than Soviet Russia.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. They just get convicted.
Yeah.
Convicted.
No trial on the facts.
And the judge who had my case, when the judges weren't giving enough time, tells them they got to give more time, for which she should have been thrown off the bench. The minute she starts to get interested in other judges' cases that they should give more time, I mean, I think any good judge would demand that she be removed. Where the hell does she come off critiquing other judges' sentences?
Crazy. Now, unacceptable.
That doesn't show she has an undue interest in the case. I mean, if you can't conclude that this woman has an undue interest in the case, when she found me liable for defamation based on failure to turn over documents, and wouldn't listen to the problems created for me by the FBI taking all my documents and screwing up my entire screwing up the entire system that was used to keep track of them. And the documents that were being asked for were way overburdensome. Any fair judge would have done that. And that the documents that she says we didn't turn over weren't really necessary for that part of the trial. And we were way behind on the ones that were necessary because of the infirmities created by the FBI and others. I mean, this is just not done. You're given the time, and there's no time pressure on this. And then to go through the process of finding that I'm liable and can't defend myself in the damages proceeding based on not being correct on discovery. I don't know if this court doesn't reverse it. There might be a time in which we got to change the whole DC circuit. And I think once somebody investigates J6, they're going to have hell to pay. I really do. It's the only, I mean, they're going to have hell to pay if we're going to reestablish any semblance of justice in this country. What they did to those January 6 people, and nobody is defending the conduct of the ones who acted criminally. I'm defending the conduct of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds where the statute's been extended to like it's the worst crime in America.
Yeah.
I'm defending the people who, whether they did what they're charged with or not, did not need the military or the FBI dressed up like the military coming into the house at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Insane.
scaring the hell out of their 2-year-old kids. I mean, that's done by sadists.
Yes, that's a good word for
It's
it.
done by sadists. I mean, when I saw that, I said, well, government's being run by sadists now. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
hatred of Trump has gotten us to sadism.
And nihilism.
It has. When I confront people in my various their pursuits of me. I look at people who I believe are just thoroughly sadistic. That their hatred of Trump has allowed them to justify any misuse of any process, even ones that they know from their education totally, totally unfair.
His use of power.
Like this, if they start telling you that he shouldn't be removed from office, you know they're sick. They're as sick as he is after this report.
That's right. And they will not, the people propping up Biden, they will not turn on him until they feel that their grasp on power is threatened. So if they truly feel, which who knows how smart these people are, but if they feel that Biden's going to lose to Trump, they'll get rid of Biden before the election.
Might be happening now.
You know, and they're probably trying to work it out now. Get rid of Biden from the top of the ticket. This guy is completely objectively out of his mind.
Seems to me like
And
the media
Congressman
got the message from somebody to go after him, put the pressure on him. I don't know. It looks like
Exactly.
We'd have to listen to the communist networks right now and find out how they're covering it.
Yeah.
Fox seemed to be covering it straight, which means he's incompetent. But I mean, CNN and particularly MSNBC, how are they? Well, they're covering, CNN is covering the Trump battle in the Supreme Court.
even that little Asian girl who's always on, I forgot her name. She was going after him, which was shocked.
And one of they're both doing the Supreme Court, which is not a really much better story for Biden.
You're right.
Oh, no, they're using Supreme Court considers whether Trump's actions on January 6th disqualify him from ballot.
So they're not being very fair to their audience.
That didn't go on today during the. They didn't seem to be.
Old story.
They didn't seem to be.
What dumb people?
They have Rachel.
They have nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's being covered by Rachel Madcow.
Mad Cow's on, yeah.
These people are, but they're doing such a disservice to their audience, right?
They don't care.
And I guess the audience
They must be saying, it's really so. We don't have a big audience. They sure are dumb.
Yeah,
because we get away with the biggest bullshit.
Yes, they really do.
With them, we got really the dumbest people in the world that watch the thing. I mean, Trump watches it because he has to hear what the other side is saying.
10 years ago, I used to watch it.
Well, I assume I know. I'm never wrong about what they're saying.
You're not. I've been with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I do is assume that if it's something helps Trump, they avoid it or just lie about it. Now they can't cover the report because the report says he's bonkers. They can't cover the argument because the Supreme Court, including their justices, sounded like that you can't throw him off the ballot. So they're talking about how he was involved in the insurrection based on.
Look how unpleasant they all look. I wish the audience could.
Pleasant. They look like the nastiest people that ever lived.
Unpleasant. That's what I'm saying. Look how
it looks like they killed their grandmother.
Look how.
Oh, come on.
So like they're not a nasty bunch.
You really can look at Madcow.
But I can see just how there's a specific shot.
I think she's on late. So
right there.
Oh yeah, those two. Yeah, two bozos there, and then we're not even going to tell you who it is. But Madcow could scare children.
I just had to pause this. Look at that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Madcow could definitely scare children. There's no question about it.
That's right. So,
kids look at her and start crying. I want you to note about the 14th Amendment that it begins with no person shall be a senator or representative. Now, don't you think right from that very first group of words that if they wanted to cover the president and add to another qualification or however you want to look at it, disqualification to what is already in the Constitution. The Constitution sets forth the qualifications for president. You're now amending the Constitution. The contention is it now sets forth another a qualification. And that is that you must not be guilty of insurrection, or you're disqualified if you are. They do not say president. They don't say vice president. They begin with senator. They wanted to be like subtle. They didn't want to insult the president. They didn't want the president to know that he was covered. So they kept his name out. And now we're supposed to read that to cover the president when I don't even think there's doubt about the fact that it doesn't cover the president. It's simple to me. You didn't name him. You didn't cover him. Now, I think that argument might get. I didn't hear Sotomayor disagree with that. And she's a very smart woman, and she can read. And this isn't liberal or conservative, or it either covers the president or it doesn't. And if we're going to set up a rule that we can assume that you're covering people you don't name, then the Supreme Court gets to make the law or make the Constitution, not the Congress and the people. And we just became a dictatorship. I mean, it's really serious.
I'd be curious to see, and I know it's not a primary authority, but are we able to look back at maybe the legislative history? Is there anything in the 1700s that we can point to that would help us determine whether or not the presidency or the vice presidency were meant? There's nothing there
because they didn't intend to cover. There's no legislative history that suggests. You would think if they were going to cover the president, they would say about it in advance.
They would have said, and there's nothing that indicates. Yeah.
You also would think a few people would have objected to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be unanimously agreed that you can disqualify a president for insurrection when you don't set forth any definition of insurrection. You don't put any limitations on it. What they're basically saying is a state,
one state,
not one state, one official in the state.
Bingo.
Like
it's important to say,
like the unelected Secretary of State in Maine.
Yep.
Can say, I believe he committed insurrection.
Yep.
He can't be on a ballot. Okay, what is it based on? I read the newspapers. I read the J6 report. Yep, yeah, but those are just one side, and nobody had a trial. Nobody,
I saw what happened that day. It was bad.
Or how about this? Somebody in Mississippi can say, gee, I got a copy of that outline that Giuliani gave to the prosecutor in 2020, and it's about 120 pages, and it has exhibits. And then when I even got the exhibits, it proves that Biden was involved in about 5 bribes and got $22 million. Yeah, but nobody ever proved it in court. Well, that doesn't matter. I read it.
And I think
that's my conclusion. Nobody has proved in court that Trump was involved in an insurrection. Nobody's proved that anybody's been involved in an insurrection. And nobody's proved that Biden took $21 million from China. If you read the hard drive, it says it. If you read my report, it says it. If you read several books, it says it. If you read other reports, it says it. You put all those reports together and you keep Biden off the ballot. Now, that'd be a stronger case than insurrection. There's proof of it. It hasn't been put into a court, but there are documents. There are tape recordings.
Your favorite.
There are emails. The deciding officer at least has things beyond just somebody's hearsay. He even would have. I'd be very happy to give him all of my recordings of interviews with the Ukrainian prosecutors who say Biden was paid a bribe. You can see people on live saying it, and there are others who have now videos of that. We'll give them all of them. So every state,
I can't wait.
Every state that is Republican inclined and has the votes should remove Biden from the ballot if they remove Trump. And we could figure out how many states can participate in the election. Probably half. And the president will be decided by the happenstance of who gets people removed in more states. And since it's electoral votes, I don't know. We might end up with Trump anyway, but elected by half the states. But this, by the way, is not a novel argument of mine, although I did make it before the Supreme Court argument. This was played up very heavily by Justices Alito and Roberts. I mean, if you want any indication how they're going to vote, you just listen. I mean, it was, they're very gentlemanly, but it almost seemed like, how when a professor acts like, how stupid can you be to do this? That was the attitude of Roberts, who is the swing vote. Barrett, who every once in a while goes the other way, was clearly made it known that she's opposed to this. I mean, she went out of her way to point out the infirmities in their argument. I mean, there are 5 reasons why that doesn't apply. I mean, the lawyer for Colorado, who it sounds like he's a good lawyer. Sounded like a boob because he had to defend these things.
Okay, so it's not the woman, it's the guy.
He had to find. He was
arguing for her.
He had to find a way. I mean, that's why he didn't answer that's why he got caught a lot with, well, would you please answer the question? There's no answer to the question. Like, we're wrong and we shouldn't be here.
That actually explains a lot, because I was wondering as I'm listening to the guy. Okay.
The procedure is not a testy guy, but you haven't answered my question.
Yeah.
For him, that's like Scalia saying, go get your law school license back. You know,
I miss Scalia. I miss his speeches.
Today would have been
His speech.
today would have been hilarious.
And lectures.
Plus, I'll tell you what, he would, even the liberals who were opposed to him, even when he was in the minority and they were opposed to him and they were dead set against his argument, he'd make them laugh.
Yeah.
He'd make them laugh. He'd make them laugh.
One of
And he was never really purely nasty. He was biting.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was his
Funny as hell.
but it was never antagonistic or trying to go after people to be mean. It was to make a point.
He might have even needled them with the 25th.
Did you know him well?
I worked with him in the Justice Department long before he was Justice Scalia, when he was the head of the Office of Legal Counsel under President Ford.
Wow.
He was a favorite of my boss, who was his boss, the Deputy Attorney General, Harold Tyler.
Was he your generation or a little bit older?
He was older, but
okay.
I wasn't a close friend of his, but I was a friend of his.
Yeah. And was he even then charming?
Oh my gosh, he was.
But so were you. So
yes, but he was at that era, he was a much more important person.
Okay.
I was the chief of staff to his boss.
Okay.
The Deputy Attorney General.
He was
head of the Office of Legal Counsel,
which is yeah, that's a big job.
So he reported to the Deputy Attorney General and the Attorney General, and at the Office of Legal Counsel, which Ted Olson, who you might remember, was also the Solicitor General, whose wife died on September 11, was also the head of the Office of Legal Counsel at one point in his career, and then later Solicitor General. The lawyer in charge of the Office of Legal Counsel has to be a well-known scholar, similar to the solicitor, because he's really the general counsel of the federal government. So it's his opinions that you rely on, short of a court opinion. So if there's something where there's no court opinion and you need a legal opinion so you know how to act legally, the Office of Legal Counsel has the authority to do that. They are the people that have ruled that you cannot prosecute a sitting president. And the reason it has such authority is it has been done in both a Republican and Democratic administration. The Clinton solicitor and the Bush solicitor have both agreed. Assistant Attorney General in charge of the office have agreed that if the only legitimate interpretation of the Constitution is you have to impeach the president before you can prosecute him. And by extension, the Trump attorneys general, and I think even the Biden attorney general agree with that. So it hasn't been challenged.
Yeah,
but the opinions are written by, and this is, I think, very, very good idea in this case, by a Republican and a Democratic solicitor, Office of Legal Counsel. In the old days, you wouldn't need that Democrat Republican. If the Office of Legal Counsel decided, the Democrats would agree, and vice versa. Unless you wrote a very, very reasoned opinion as to why it was wrong, then that would be even less likely than a Supreme Court reversing something. So it's a very important position. And he had argued before the Supreme Court quite a bit, and they were very happy to get him because even when he argued, he made them laugh.
Oh, they
laughed. But on a thing like this, where the arguments are so silly, it would have been almost unfair. It'd have been unfair to the poor guys who had to argue the Colorado side. It'd have been unfair. I mean, like, the thing about the president not being there, he might just look up and say, "Oh, let me see. I got president. Let me put that. Give me the Constitution. I want to put the president in. Come here. There's we'll put president right there."
He was good. He was good in his speech when he had those lectures.
Is it necessary, Mr. So-and-so? Is it necessary for me? Like, I have the 14th Amendment in front of me. Should I write the word president here where it's? See, it doesn't say, it begins, it doesn't say president. See, look at the whole 14th Amendment here, and you say you can actually stop the leading candidate of the Republican Party from running, and it doesn't say that here. But would you like me to? since you want us to rule on this, would you like me to rewrite it? I'll just write it in for you, but I better put it in red because it's a lie. You know, that's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
You got to have a little of that in court. It makes it fun.
Goodness, yeah, especially some of the courtrooms.
When I was in court, there were a lot of judges like that. They weren't nasty, but they were sarcastic.
Yeah,
This lent itself. It didn't have much sarcasm. This lent itself to a massive amount of sarcasm.
Oh, today, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because every argument's wrong. Well, how about the fact that the last section says that the Congress should do this, and the Congress didn't do anything? You say, oh, okay, all right, that's fine, but it says here Congress has to. Did Congress do anything? No. Well, out of court. Go leave.
It
says right. It's fit number 5.
Oh, Congress, yeah.
This should be done based on procedures set forth by the Congress. Mr. Solicitor for Colorado, did you follow any procedures that set forth by Congress? No, Mr. Justice. Well, would you get the hell out of here, please? Go home. Figure it out. What happened? Too much marijuana in Colorado.
Hey, that could.
What's going on? I mean, you see president here.
I saw it was there last night.
I know you're having a lot of car accidents, but let's not have accidents with the Constitution.
Yeah. You know, Colorado, just keep it in Colorado. We don't need
none of the other states disagreed with you.
Yeah.
What's the one that's having trouble now? Oregon. Oregon wants to change it.
Yeah, Oregon
wants to make marijuana illegal now because
make it worse.
There's nobody walking around with a functioning brain. Because the ones with a functioning brain are inhaling.
Yeah.
How about the animal? I mean, I love dogs, as you know, because I watch dog rescue things every night for relaxation. And I get so angry at the people that are nasty to the dogs. Because I'm convinced that somebody nasty to dogs is a serial killer.
You know, my mom used to say that.
Oh.
My mom told me.
No, this is the kid with me. Well, I'm going to write. If
That's
somebody
funny.
keeps notes, you can write my biography here. You can write my biography from this.
We have your.
I have a not a childhood memory, a teenage memory of this that's like emblazoned on my brain.
With the cat.
Yeah, because I had these pals, and I commuted to high school. I went from Brooklyn to downtown. I went from Long Island to downtown Brooklyn. For New York, it wasn't a long commute. It was about 30 minutes. I had a lot of friends that commuted by subway. I commuted by Long Island Railroad. So I came in from the Nassau County stop, Nassau Boulevard stop of the Long Island Railroad. I came into the Long Island Railroad Depot in Brooklyn, which is right across the street now from the basketball hockey arena. And I walked about 7 blocks to Bishop Laughlin Memorial High School. And these were a bunch of Catholic high school kids, but that didn't stop them from being wild as hell. And it was the era in which and it was in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Bedford-Stuyvesant was beginning to become not the tough area it became like 5, 6 years, but tough. It was beginning to become like that, and a lot of bad little gangs and stuff. And we all thought we were, so we all go around together protecting ourselves and having fights every once in a while. So one day, something was canceled. One of the activities I was involved in was canceled. It might have been weightlifting or baseball. I don't remember. So all my pals wanted to go do something in downtown Brooklyn. Probably something bad, like cause some trouble or try to find somebody to fight with or something like that. So one kid says, "Hey, Rudy, why don't you come with us? You've never joined us on this." I said, "What? Why? This is a lot of fun." I said, "What do we got? Come on, we can go to the Brooklyn Bridge." I said, "That's a long way. I mean, I got to get to Long. Come on, come to it's a beautiful day. We don't usually have this time off. Let's go to the Brooklyn Bridge. We got something we do there. You're gonna be great at it." I said, "Why am I going to? You got a good arm." I said, "Okay, what are we going to throw a ball?" I thought maybe it wasn't wintertime. We're not going to throw snowballs.
Yeah,
we're going to throw rocks at people.
Yeah.
So I was curious. I probably should have left. We get there, and I said, "Okay, stop. What are we going to do? I got to get ready." They said, "That's great. Right around here, there are a lot of feral cats. They hang around near the base of the bridge. Mm-hmm. We go down the base of the bridge. We put a little wire around their neck, and we toss them off the bridge. And we want their necks crack. Break." What?
Oh, you don't
so
know
I go,
that story?
"What?" Wait. So I go like this. Yeah, right.
Yeah, kidding. Yeah,
little kitty cats.
Yeah.
No, we get big ones. Is that like that makes a difference? You can kill a big cat, but not a little one. I said, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, this is happening.
And they said, well, no, come on, let me show you. I said, no,
No.
don't show me. And don't do it. I mean, you're crazy. You're absolutely damn crazy. I said, what are you guys training to be serial killers?
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there a study that said
So
people,
I went home. They left. I hope they didn't go ahead.
they probably
When I left and went to the Long Island Railroad, I started feeling guilty. I should have stayed and watched them because I thought maybe they'd come back and do it without me. And then I discussed it with eventually my mom and dad and one of my cousins, and all of them who are older than me said, you know, they agreed. These are the kind of kids you got to watch because if they can do this to innocent animals, as they get older, maybe these are the people that all of a sudden go wacky and kill their wife and kid, you know?
well, they know that's true now, right? There was a
Is there a study like that?
I
You
heard
got to get that for me because this has been on my mind since I was
you were a kid.
14 years old.
My mom, growing up, I kept hearing that people that are mean to animals turn up to be serial killers.
I love cats also, but not the way and I had a cat, Missy, but I really love dogs the most. It is like it's like the Yankees and the Mets. And I've actually had seasons where I rooted for the Mets. People do not know that, like when Yogi Berra was with them, because I love Yogi so much.
Oh, yeah.
Or Gil Hodges, because I loved Gil Hodges, even though he was a Dodger. He was my favorite cousin's favorite player, number 14. Now, and I worked like hell as the mayor to get with his wife.
Yeah.
I joined the group to get him in the Hall of Fame. And the idea of even if you don't like animals, even if you don't like, I mean, a lot of people don't like dogs, I guess. They don't want them in their house. A lot of people don't like cats. There's nothing about them that requires you to kill them. They don't hurt anybody. What are you going to do? They don't hurt you. Actually, cats, like in Palm Beach, I told you there are a lot of feral cats and they kill the water rats.
Yeah.
So they're performing a public service.
Yeah.
They should be given like.
I'm yet to see. I want to see
And
one.
in fact, there are people that come out and feed them. Okay. They're doing something for the community. And cats, I think, even more than dogs, like to live in the wild. They can take care of themselves better. A cat,
Much more independent. Yeah.
Well, a cat's going to have a much better ability to sniff out food, to clean. They clean themselves with their tongue. You see these rescue stories. The dogs are all filled with mud and lice and fleas in their skin. The cats generally, unless they've become mentally, unless they've become unable to stand trial, like Biden, they generally can clean themselves. I saved a cat once that was like that. The cat was frozen in the snow. It was a little, maybe 4 or 5 week old kitten. And she was I think she was on our property. And I was putting up Christmas lights. And I heard this screeching. And it was a little tiny cat. And the cat was both frozen over and couldn't move easily and had feces on it. And that's very rare for a cat because they clean themselves.
Yeah.
So I called my girlfriend at the time, who was a real cat lover. And really, she had a beautiful cat who hated me. But she had a cat, and she came over to help me. And we bathed the cat, and I gave the cat hot milk. And we took it to the vet, and the vet, actually, the cat was okay. And then I had that cat for a long time. Missy.
Great name. Well, on that
I had to
note,
run away, though.
Yeah.
Because she was a feral cat. I mean, I think I don't think she was like at least the people who knew cats didn't think she was like a domesticated cat that had been thrown out of the family. They think she was born feral.
look, big difference. I know a lot of cat owners and a lot of dog owners. Dogs are much more, they got to run home to do something with the dog, right? They're always walking the dog. So yeah, there's a big difference. You have a cat.
Oh, cat's much more
Cat's independent. You can go for a week. I can go to Florida.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I wonder.
Maybe not a week. Okay, a couple days.
You can.
I think so.
The cat, you leave enough food, the cat will
Find its way in and out of the house, everything.
Well, also, the cat will measure the amount they eat.
Yeah.
My dog,
Oh, really?
Goldie, who was smart as hell. My dog was trained to be a seeing eye dog. He was like smarter than half the people I know.
Yeah.
Certainly smarter than Biden.
Yeah.
He'd be able to participate in his own defense. Goldie would you'd put
Food.
You take 5 weeks worth of food,
Yeah.
and put it and open it up. In about a day, goalie would be finished with all
Gone.
the food. And then he'd start going around the house grabbing stuff.
Yeah.
He also was hilarious because we had a lot of parties.
Yeah.
And he was a very gentle dog, and a lot of people loved him and they wanted to see him. So usually on request, we would take him out during a party, with 30 people, 100 people.
People start asking for him.
How about 1,000 people? You know what he would do? He'd follow around the people that drop food.
He knew.
He'd do like a surveillance.
Oh, sloppy eaters.
Yeah, he'd go on the, he'd be on the, somebody's wife's going on the porch.
Yeah.
He's looking for a slob. He's looking around like
So
this.
you can identify the slobs.
Boom. And then, and the person would drop, he'd eat it. Sometimes he'd get sick because he'd eat stuff he shouldn't eat. But that guy had such a great, you didn't even have to feed him. I mean, he had such a great life.
Goalie, we'll bring up some pictures.
Well, I know we got off the point, but I hope
Yeah.
you guys like animals because we do.
I found one quick thing. You want to hear it?
I do.
While some children kill insects, few torture pets or other animals, creatures. If allowed to harm animals, children are more likely to be violent later in life.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So that
It does make sense.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
that childish logic that I had was correct.
Yeah.
Probably put there by my parents and my Catholic education.
Yeah.
I'm very, very proud of my Catholic education, so don't make fun of it.
Good upbringing.
Yeah, and don't tell me that.
No one's making fun. We're all Catholics here.
I was raised. Don't
very
tell me
Catholic.
I'm some kind of a
I went to Catholic.
extremist
Cultist.
because I like the Latin Mass. Sometimes I read it to myself to feel calm. I have a copy of it right next to my bed, and I read it to myself. So now I know that that crooked attorney general who goes after Catholics instead of people who mutilate children will come after me. Do you realize how ridiculous we've become in allowing this administration to be here? Today is yet another example of now about 100 of how I would never have thought that if an opinion like this were written, a president would remain in office for one more day. Tonight, this very night, the studies would begin. The process would begin under the 25th Amendment to find out if he's unfit to stand trial, is he fit to care for all of us?
Look what they did to Nixon for a lot less.
Well, Nixon was never unfit to stand trial.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. And they had all these. And
they used to say he drank.
Threw him out.
They used to say he.
Yeah.
They used to say he drank, but I never saw any indication that Nixon was non-compos mentis, was unable to speak and act rationally.
We have an absent White House, and what even
We're
worse.
talking about when he gets names mixed up. We're talking about when he says irrational things.
Mentally incapacitated.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Biden does get names mixed up more than normal because I think you can find Trump getting names mixed up. You can find anybody getting names. Clinton. I'm talking about irrational things like
Kids rubbing the
give me control of the Border Patrol.
Oh, that, yeah.
I mean, that's not a name mixed up. That's like that makes you sit back and say, how could he say that?
Mm.
There's got to be something wrong. Either he's a liar or he's crazy. And if he's a liar, he's a crazy liar because it's an easily provable lie.
Yeah.
I got to rewatch his speech tonight, Mayor, because I'd be curious to see. They clearly wanted to do that to show that he's all there.
He lost it all when he lost his temper.
Yeah.
And that, which, by the way, is a symptom of dementia and Alzheimer's.
Really?
Quick temper.
It seemed like they were trying to get him to lose his temper. That's what it
Well,
seemed like.
That's the media.
Didn't take much.
It didn't take much.
And he didn't lose his temper. He looked abnormal in the way he lost his temper.
Yeah.
He looked like what he is, a demented man who lost his temper.
He's not mixing up names.
They sometimes, in the old days, they would describe it as a crotchety old man. Well, I guess he can be a crotchety old man and not be demented, but this guy is both. Now, I mean, it goes back to when he would say, "You want to go outside and fight?" And
yeah,
I was number one in my class. What were you? He was number one. He was next to last.
Very odd. Well, what a great night! What a great show. Well into soccer time.
Are we ready to get rid of this bum? Simple as that.
Right.
And don't tell me Kamala Harris. I'm not in love by any means. I will start in on Kamala Harris tomorrow.
She's
you want me
bad, yeah.
But there's no way, even as a matter of precedent, that the country should be under the influence of a man unfit for office.
Right.
They are now showing on television the boxes that were laid out in wide open with classified material. And this crooked prosecutor, at no point in his report, points out what any decent prosecutor would have. Those documents were in the reach of a guy compromised by Red China for 300 or more days. And they're putting Trump in jail and not him. And we're not crooked. Well, that's all for tonight. Think about it. And I don't know. I think there's only one answer. No matter what they do, no matter what more charges they bring or what they convict him of, or we got only one way out of this. And that's Donald Trump. It's terrible to say he's the only one that can save our republic, but he is. You give me the other one and we'll talk about it tomorrow, okay? Well, God bless the people of Israel, who we didn't get to talk much about tonight, but we will. God bless the people of the United States, and God bless America. Is to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to